welcome to Healthcare Hour with Colleen. Can you believe we are rapidly getting towards the end of the year? And if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, you are counting days to being on holiday, being on vacation. But yes, we go on holiday. So a lot of people are looking forward to going to the beach. And for people in the Northern Hemisphere, they're not going to the beach. But yes, they can look forward to cold Christmas. How's that? Yes, as you know, Healthcare Hour is all about healthcare professionals. It's about us understanding that they are people, they get tired, they get hungry, and also we need to be aware that they need to self-care. Healthcare professionals must self-care. It's also about us knowing as patients, how do we improve the relationship between the healthcare professional and the patient, and of course the patient's family, and as public at some point. We may be patients. We will be patients. And so it's important that we are informed about what's happening out there, what's part of our own health, what can make us feel better. And so my guest today, Elizabeth Markevitch, is coming to talk to us about art and how art can impact our health. So hello, Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you for your invitation. And yes, I'm in the North Hemisphere. And yes, we started to have snow already yesterday, so it's coming.
Yes. And it's funny how the Southern Hemisphere always goes, oh, but we need to have the snow. But we have barbecues or what we call
Yeah,
braais and hot weather.
yeah.
Yes.
We're never happy.
I always think it would be better on there. Yes, it would be better.
Mm.
But yes, let's have a short break. And then when we come back, Elizabeth, we're going to hear about your career and how you have got to do what you do now. But let's go for a break first.
How do you know the life of personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
Welcome back. You are watching Healthcare Hour with Colleen. My guest today is Elizabeth Markevitch, and she has got a fascinating career where she worked in the elite art market and then decided, time for things to change. But let's go back to the beginning, Elizabeth. Where are you joining us from?
So I live actually in Berlin, Germany, where I've been here for the past 25 years. I was not always here. I was more in Geneva before, where I did all my professional career. And I did all I would say the first half of my life, so to say, in the art market, where I was working for big companies, like auction houses like Sotheby's and everything, where I was an impressionist and modern specialist. And my job was to find good impressionist and modern paintings to put at auction. And then slowly I became an art advisor for private collectors and did many other little jobs in that sphere. And in the end of the 90s, when internet popped up, I said, I have maybe now one answer to one of my questions, which is a question which has been completely obsessing me all my life and still does, which is, why is art not as popular as music? And by answering to this question in the end of the 90s, with the arrival, the emergence of internet, I said, oh, maybe we have here an opportunity to bring an art experience to Mr. Everybody thanks to the internet, which I did with some friends. We co-founded a company which still exists, which is called iStorm, where we were basically proposing artworks for sale, but artworks done for us, so to say. And we were selling that at a very small price. It was the idea that we would copy, so to say, if you want, the label business, and selling to you and I a product. And the product was the art piece, but it was lovely. Like a CD is lovely or an LP is lovely. And fast forward, I realized that we were very successful, but funny enough, it was only the art people buying with us. So I was still trapped in this small world, which is the
So
art world.
you weren't reaching Mr. Everybody then.
I was not reaching,
Yes.
even though because we started in the internet time, in 90s, money was flowing in, it was really obscene. How investors wanted to really invest into these new companies. So we had all the money in the world we wanted for marketing. So we were everywhere, and nevertheless, we were still selling to the art. So the question was why? And it took me a few years to find out that in fact, you do not sell something to somebody if this somebody doesn't know anything about this something. So if you are not, aware of art, you don't need art. Your life goes on very well like this. But on the other hand, if you look at what music has been doing they've been diving in all the technology, starting with radios, starting with, by distributing the music to a maximum of people and distributing a maximum of music to a maximum of people. And it did never killed the real experience, which are still the concerts. And concerts today, even though today we have Spotify and co, we all have a music experience. We're surrounded by music. Wherever you go, there is music. You still go to the concerts, and the concerts, funny enough, are sold out. So why can't we do the same with art? And this is where I discovered that even with Spotify, you download only the music you want. You don't download everything. You could, of course, but you're not doing that. You're downloading only what you have been choosing, or your friend told you should listen to this, or whatever. And so the question was, how can we do with art, something similar? And this has brought me what I'm doing today, which will be next year, in fact, 20 years that I've been thinking about that and starting to make it happen, which was to say that with music, with radio, how many times you heard a music for the first time and you didn't like it and you needed a repetition? We need repetition with everything. And then you like it, and maybe even then you buy the CD. And so, or download it now. So I thought it's the same. And this is why I copied everything that the music industry did, meaning starting by broadcasting with satellite, doing, the radio, if you want, to which I didn't want to do TV because I don't, as you know, I don't come from TV world. So I didn't want to reproduce, do documentaries or whatever, because I didn't think I could bring something new in this domain. But I said to myself, the art community, when you come to the museums, for example, they have one obsession is education, which is a good obsession. I'm not saying it's a bad obsession, but they are so obsessed by this that they think we should be knowing about a work before even we experience the work. And I think it's the other way around, that basically, like music, you hear music for the first time, you can, download it. Doesn't mean that you know everything about the musician. Probably not, and probably never, because what you like is the music. There's maybe just a handful of musicians that you really know about. So that was the idea, that with repetition, I'm going to bring art at home. I'm going to reverse the tendency where today, if you want to have an art experience, you have to go to the museum, meaning you're already willing to have this experience. So this is where I thought, okay, let's reverse that. And I did satellite, and fast forward today, I have a streaming platform, which is called Icono TV, on which you can all go at home, download your app on a smart TV if you have one at home, or on your mobile or whatever, and just enjoy.
So there's no subscription then to Icona TV?
There is a subscription for specific type of content, but there is a lot of things which are for free.
Okay. So we're encouraging everyone to go and look. So it's Ikono TV. Go have a look at Icona TV.
Yeah, Icono TV if you download the app, and if not on the web, it's iconotv.art.
Okay. All right. So the whole idea is that instead of art only being for the rich, because I think traditionally art is for the rich, and it's also about putting a huge price tag on something, and it's almost like being, oh, well, why would you go to an art gallery? Whereas you're now bringing the same as music comes into our homes, it comes into our cell phones, it comes into our TV. You're now saying, let's bring art into that as well.
I think, yeah, I think there are different experiences, in fact, because in the music world, yes, if I'm very rich, I could invite a musician at home, and it will cost me a fortune.
Yes.
But the musician would be at my home, we're having dinner with my friends, and maybe doing a mini concert just for us. That's exactly what you have, the collectors today when they buy an expensive work of art, it's just for them. What I'm just saying is that there is room for every type of experience and basically kind of ownership, so to say. For me, art is universal. For me, artists, they don't paint for a collector originally. Yes, they need the support of the collector, there's no doubt. And they always had mécènes around them. But at the end of the day, their dream also is to build a kind of collective memory. And I think this is the beauty of the arts in general, is that we build a collective memory, whether it's art, music, or literature. And this belongs to everybody. So do we need to own physically a work of art to have this relationship to the work of art? Because this work of art, at the essence of it, is to move you, to tell you a story, to maybe tell something about yourself, that you discover that because you're going to see the impact that it has. Which brings me to the fact that as I wanted to do this counter experience that what the museum, for example, do by giving you an audio, set to listen to all the explanation. I came up by saying, I'm not going to do TV, I'm not going to explain a work of art, I'm going to show the work of art. And this is where I created a new format, which we call the slow art videos. And the slow art videos are exactly that. It's a camera basically doing a trip within the painting and telling you an invisible or silent story. And it's this idea that we can look at a work of art, be moved by this work of art, and again, maybe never know who is the artist behind and what was the context and why he or she did it.
So Elizabeth, it's almost like stepping into a journey into the painting.
It is.
And then we get to go on our journey. So I get to see the purple something or other and interpret it the way I see it.
Yeah.
And whereas people may go on this journey and see it differently, but it's for
Absolutely.
our own lived experience of the painting or our own lived journey within the painting.
Yeah, it is absolutely that. And it's really funny because depending who is watching, they have, of course, completely different interpretation.
Yes.
They tell their story, which most of the time is the good story. It's the right story. It's just that they don't know the name maybe of the protagonist or where the painting was done, but they can tell me the story or on a metaphor, as a metaphor. And at the end of the day, the result is the same, is that the impact is really the same on you. And we even know now that it has an impact, physically on our bodies.
Okay, so on that exciting point, it does make me want to go into a painting now as a journey. And we'll have to share a link for people to go try that out. But let's go for a break. When we come back, we're going to find out more about this stepping into a painting, and then also about how art heals and how it's being applied. But let's go for a break.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
Welcome back. You're listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Quist. My guest today is Elizabeth Markevitch. She is joining us from Berlin. It was Berlin, yes. I'm just going to put you in the wrong part. Yes, joining us from Berlin, and she spent 25 years marketing art and working very much in the impressionist and with impressionist and modern art pieces, and then decided, no, just like music, let's bring art to the people. So you were sharing before the break that you have got a technique where the camera almost steps into the painting and we go with it.
Yeah, this became our signature format. And in fact, the only format that I really produce in-house, because if you go on Icono TV, the slow art is our production, and everything else you will see on Icono TV is not from us, because we aggregate now content from all over the world, which are, from artists or production houses, which are, doing something about, on art, or it is art. So we tend to become the art platform that you want to have. Any art experience, you could have it with us, so to say. So it's increasing all the time, the library.
Yes.
So, but our own format has been one of my favorite, because it was the one I really wanted to have people being, to see, that they can look at a work of art without knowing anything, without any education, and that they don't need to be part of the elite to appreciate it. And it worked, because all the people who watch us, they all want to go and see the real work afterwards, because they discovered the work and they basically saw one way to look at it, and all the small details we show them, there is a moment they want to see it with their own eyes. So that's the nice thing. Let's say that you go to Paris tomorrow. Most of the people who go to Paris, they go to the Louvre, and what do they want to go and look at is Mona Lisa. Why do they go all look at Mona Lisa? Because she's the most, famous painting in the world. Therefore, everybody knows her. Everybody saw a reproduction of her. We know her by art, but there is a moment we want to see her in flesh, so to say. Yes, you see everybody with their iPhones, and trying to take a photo because they also want to see, I was there. But if you ask these same visitors, what was just behind you or next to you, on the walls? Because there is a lot of other paintings. They're planning to move her in a room where she will be most of it alone. But today, she's surrounded by fantastic paintings. Nobody knows it, doesn't even pay attention. Most
Yes.
people even think there isn't no painting. And it's not true. You have behind one of the largest painting of the Louvre collection, and quite famous. But if you're not in the art world, you might never, if you don't have an art experience, you probably never saw this painting. So what I want is that you look at this painting, which is behind Mona Lisa, that you can see on Icono TV,
Yes.
because with the repetition, then when you will go back to the Louvre, you will see it. Because I think we just don't see things we don't know. That's it. Because we also have
And I
to
think,
make breaks in our
yes.
to categorize things in our mind. We can't memorize everything.
No. But I think also instead of going into the Louvre and only asking, hey, where's the Mona Lisa? If we then had 5 different paintings and I need this one and I need that one and I need, and it would almost be like you're going to see a collection of familiar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this, I just want people to have more familiarity with the whole art, because there's been so many and still have so many fantastic artists, and it's so important. And funny enough now, because I'm doing so many other things using the slow art, because we're building now a meditation app. I want to bring these apps now in public spaces, which are stressful and maybe anxious, because during the pandemic, we were approached by a new department being created at the WHO. And they said, your films are beautiful, but they're also doing something on the people. And we realized that art, and not specifically what we do, but in general, art has the same impact than music, for example, on our physiology. Meaning, if you are anxious and that you're looking at a work of art, your cortisol level, all your hormones, your stress hormones, are going to drop, literally. Because we have a video, we can also put your brain in a kind of alpha state, alpha frequency, which is the frequency we develop when we are meditating. So this is why we're going to bring this meditation app, because for all the people who don't meditate yet, it can be a good entrance, entry door, so to say, a door opener to a meditation experience, because they will feel on their body the same, effect that if they were doing literally a normal meditation. So that shows how it can really impact us in a very nice way.
Yes. So I also know as well that you've gone deep diving into how art heals and how it can be put into spaces, like you said, that are stressful, like hospitals.
Yeah, I definitely want to do it with hospital waiting rooms, because I think that's the most stressful place, because we go in a hospital waiting room, whatever it's for us or for a parent. And of course, we're building ourselves terrible stories in our mind. It's always worse than it is in reality. And we know now also that doctors, when they finally have time to see you, and if you're completely stressed, you basically don't hear what the doctor is telling you.
Yeah.
So you want to arrive in the doctor's office in a more relaxed state, and to be more open and to hear what we are telling you. So this is why we want to build playlists and bring them on dedicated screens that we will bring into a waiting room for people to just enjoy looking at what it is. And because our films on top are silent, it doesn't bother anybody. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So I would imagine that it would be beautiful in any space that is stressful, in any space where you've got to line up and queue and wait to see whatever, whether it's the post office queue or it's the bank queue or the...
Absolutely. No, it can be everywhere, but even at home, if you have a smart TV and you download our app and you watch a slow art, I can tell you that it brings in a very nice and calming atmosphere in your living room, for example, compared to watching BBC or CNN, for example, with their bad news. So, and because of the pace, because of, the beauty, the different types of colors, it also, this kind of moving canvas that is brought to you is really something special.
Okay. So it's break time again, and then we're also going to find out what other kinds of applications there are for art and how else it heals, because I know that you also work in an environmental space.
Yes.
But let's go for a break.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. The human spirit is powerful.
From news,
countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
Views.
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
Sports.
What's he say?
It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
And music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.
Welcome back. You're watching Healthcare Hour with Colleen Quist. My guest today is Elizabeth Markevitch. She has immersed herself in art for all these years. And before it was art for art collectors, and now it's art for the masses. And also the different applications of art, because art heals the same way as music heals. But how do we get people to have more access to art and not only go trekking off to the Louvre in Paris to go see the Mona Lisa? How do we know what's the painting next to her? So, Elizabeth, what other applications are there for this slow art and for how you're bringing art to the people?
So slow art the slow art we've been producing are only with old masterworks. And because if you go in a hospital, for example, maybe they have some art on their walls, but it would be always contemporary. So we wanted to make a big difference in that we also 100% complementary. What I have been discovering more and more is that art per se, because of the artist, because they have a sixth sense, because they can foresee things, they most of the time have a very nice message to tell us. And in today's world, for example, you're having now since about 10, 15 years, but mainly 10 years, you're having more and more artists now trying to tell us something or show us something which is related to climate issues, for example. And you're having more and more these artists who can basically explain us without words what is going on. And this is what I love about art, is that visual art does not need words most of the time. I'm not saying we shouldn't, because sometimes it can be complementary. But to have the experience at the beginning, the work itself is already very powerful. And this is what an artist always wants to show us. So you're having more and more artists, doing things for climate change. You're having artists who are doing things for, social issues or, whatever. So since 10 years, when we just ended this weekend the COP30, which was in Brazil. 10 years ago, it was the famous one in Paris, where they signed the famous Paris Agreement, where we shouldn't go above 1.5 degree. This is funny to see that you're basically having all the scientists today, since 50 years already, telling us that we're facing a problem. The problem of the scientist is, yes, they've been screaming loud and clear what is the problem, but with what we could call, data. And data never did touch anybody. It doesn't move anybody. And we are facing this problem today, that we need other ways to touch people. And that, yes, art is a way to touch us differently than with an Excel sheet, with what we call cold data. We need more data which is more emotional, more and touches us, because when you tell a story to people, whatever the story is, you move people, and if you move them, meaning you impact them, then maybe they will act and maybe they will understand. But before, there is no way we move. So this is where I'm seeing all the interaction with art and the work of, all the artists and why they do. And this is why I'm also writing a book right now to show all these evidence. So, yeah.
Yes. So you're also writing a trilogy of books, not just one book. So talk to us about your trilogy of books, Elizabeth.
But one book, I happen to be quite active on social media. And so I have a LinkedIn, which is for those who are really interested in the topic. I have a LinkedIn page under my name, which is focusing only about the impact of art and mainly in the healing space. So for all your viewers, that might be interesting if they're in this healing space. So I'm basically collecting all these posts and going to make a book out of these posts to collect them in a meaningful way by chapters. The second book is going to be with artists, which I could call artivist, meaning an artist, a true artist, and being an activist at the same time. You're having more
I
and
like
more.
that. An artivist.
Yeah,
Yes.
like artivist. And I will have also a very famous collector coming on board, who does basically buy only work which are meaningful in a climate issue domain. And the third book, which will be a smaller book, but it will be basically only for policymakers, because I am convinced policymakers all around the world, whatever the country you live in, when our politicians, they need money, the first thing they cut is art.
Art.
And I want to prove them that it should be the last thing they cut. Because if you cut art, you cut what makes us human. You cut what makes me having empathy for my neighbor. You cut us from all the emotions that we need. This is really what makes us human, and what makes a society. What makes a society being together. What makes a society, holding a democracy, and all these things. So I want to show them that if they were cutting that at the end, meaning never, they will hold the society, and the society would be grateful for that. So this is going to be, and I'm not going to come just with my words. I'm going to come with economic proof,
Yes.
because there are some economists who agree with this theory. So I just want to highlight them.
Yeah. So it's, if you're planning on cutting art and the money for art anywhere that you are, no matter which country you're in, think twice. Think about Elizabeth's
Exactly.
book from an economics point of view, of saying that's the last thing you should be cutting out of the budget.
Yeah, it's every society where we did cut, and there's been some societies, unfortunately, where we not only cut the budget, but we forbid people. I not want to name them, but there are countries where you're not allowed to dance, you're not allowed to paint, you're not allowed to do music or read poetry. These countries make people really miserable, and so yes, if you want to do a fascist country, that's the best way. You put everybody into fears. But if you want to do a democracy, no, hold them with art.
Okay, so Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming to share art with us.
Thank you for the
Yes,
invitation.
we certainly, it's funny how you don't actually think of art as being like music, where it's like, I mean, we certainly know, yes, it heals, but also that but I suppose because it's not accessible.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, she always shares like, oh, here come her 15 pictures of the art that she's finding beautiful in this week. And then she shares them with us on Facebook.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. That's very nice.
Yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, the more we will be surrounded by art, and having, not only surrounded by having an experience, we need the experience, the better we have a world. I'm sure of
Yes.
that.
And then also, with you saying as well that art goes around the language barrier.
Yeah, on top.
And so it's not having to be translated into thousands of languages.
Absolutely.
It's understood in whichever language you are.
Yeah, exactly like music too. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's universal, and it makes what we are, and that we are all here. We forget that we did invent borders. We did invent different languages. We wanted to be different from the neighbor, but at the end of the day, we're all on one earth. And so, yeah,
Yes.
artists understood that.
Okay, so thank you so much for being our guest and for opening our eyes to the beauty and the healing of art.
Well, thank you to you, and for your the people watching, if they want to have an experience on the slow art, they just need to log in and they will have a 30-day free trial if they want to just test it.
Okay. So thank you.
Thank you to you. Have a
All
lovely
right.
day.
So you have been listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Quist. Please make sure that you go try out O'Connor TV, go log in, go and see what the slow art's about, and see where you could bring that kind of art into your organization. Let's make a difference to people. Let's bring down stress levels. We know how high they are, and let's actively play a part in what we're doing. Please also remember that you're loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And I'll see you next week.